The violence between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants entered a fifth day on Friday, with fresh airstrikes, artillery fire and rocket attacks. The Israeli military said in a statement shortly after midnight that air and ground forces were attacking Gaza. Rocket barrages from the Hamas-run enclave swiftly followed. Witnesses said many families living in areas of Gaza near the border fled their homes, some seeking shelter at United Nations-run schools. On Thursday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country's military campaign will take more time.
The defense activity of Iron Dome batteries is giving us an offensive space, and the IDF has already attacked hundreds of targets. We will soon pass 1,000. We continue striking Hamas while defending our citizens.
A funeral was held on Thursday for Hamas commander killed in the Israeli strikes. Since Monday, more than 100 people have been killed in Gaza, including dozens of children, medical officials said. On the Israeli side, authorities said 7 people had been killed, including a soldier who was laid to rest on Thursday. International calls for an end to the hostilities have so far had no effect, as both sides show no sign of stepping down. Tension has also spread to inside Israel, with violent clashes reported in mixed communities of Jews and the Arab minority, prompting Israel's president to warn of a civil war. The Israeli city of Lod was on edge Thursday night, as police patrolled the streets and made arrests. The city has seen rioting, burning of cars and violent attacks on individuals. The UN Security Council will publicly discuss the worsening crisis on Sunday, diplomats said, after the US earlier objected to a meeting on Friday. The 15-member council has met privately twice this week, but it has so far been unable to agree on a public statement. Israel's escalating military conflict with Gaza is the worst since the 2014 war.
Iron Dome is an Israeli anti-missile defense system designed to destroy short-range rockets. Capable of intercepting missiles fired from between 4 and 70 kilometers, it's designed to perform in all weather conditions. The first Iron Dome battery was installed in March 2011 near the southern Israeli city of Beersheba, some 40 kilometers from the Gaza Strip. Several others have been deployed since then. Military experts say 13 systems are required to defend all of Israel. Enemy artillery fired from within a 70-kilometer radius is detected by the defense system's mobile tracking radar. The missile type is identified, its path is monitored, and the data sent to a weapon management and control unit which calculates the likely point of impact. If a missile is heading towards populated or built-up areas, the system will intercept it. Incoming targets are shot down in the air by one of the system's 3 missile launchers, each of which contains 20 missiles.
Among them was an Indian national. 32-year-old Soumya Santosh. A rocket fell on Soumya's Ashkelon residence when she was on a video call with her husband. Soumya was from the Indian state of Kerala. She'd been working as a caregiver in Israel. She has a 9-year-old son who lives with his father in Kerala in India. Israel's ambassador to India, Ron Malka, compared the young boy's loss to that of 2-year-old Moses, who lost his parents during the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Efforts are being made to ensure that Soumya's mortal remains are brought back to India as soon as possible. The 32-year-old has become the face of this crisis. There is a call for justice. But who do you punish? Because what you've heard so far was just one side of the story. Let's turn to Gaza. The streets in the Gaza city are filled with rubble. Israeli airstrikes have brought down 2 tower blocks. 3 civilians, including a woman, were killed when their car was hit by an Israeli airstrike.
What should I say? This is a crime. They were civilians, a woman, her children, a barber and a shop owner. These are the people who were at the scene. They didn't hit a militant or an official. We are civilians sleeping at our homes.
At least 35 people have died in Gaza in the last 24 hours. More than 200 others have been injured. Anger over these raids has spread to parts of Israel, especially in towns with mixed Jewish-Arab population, like Lod, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared a state of emergency. Since the year 2007, Israel and Hamas have fought 3 wars. There have been several escalations, but an escalation this quick has never been seen. From the raids of Al-Aqsa to a night of more than 1,000 rocket launches, how did things build up so quickly? Experts say this is Hamas's direct response to the Israeli raids on the Al-Aqsa mosque compound, which is Islam's 3rd holiest site. But look at images from inside the mosque and you would wonder who is defiling it. It's important to understand the politics of this conflict. For Hamas, it is an opportunity to strengthen its claims to the leadership of the Palestinian movement. For Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is an excuse to cling on to power. Opposition parties in Israel are mulling a coalition to topple Netanyahu. A war gives the Prime Minister a way to divert the situation at home. He has vowed to expand the offensive.
We are at the height of a campaign. Since yesterday, the IDF executed hundreds of attacks on Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. We targeted commanders. We hit many of their quality targets. At the conclusion of a situational assessment, it was decided that both the might of the attacks and the frequency of the attacks will be increased. Hamas will be getting blows it didn't expect.
At the same time, his administration is calling for immediate de-escalation. The State Department has also dispatched a special envoy to calm the tensions.
And I had a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu not too long ago. I'll be putting out a statement very shortly on that. My expectation and hope is that this will be closing down sooner than later. But Israel has a right to defend itself when you have thousands of rockets flying into your territory. But I had a conversation for a while with the Prime Minister of Israel, and I think that my hope is that we'll see this coming to conclusion sooner than later.
Russia, too, has urged de-escalation. Moscow wants Israel to stop its settlement expansion plans and reinstate status quo at Jerusalem's sacred sites. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is proposing a meeting of the West Asian Quartet. This includes the US, Russia, the European Union and the United Nations. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson expressed concern about the cycle of violence in Gaza. He called for an urgent de-escalation to end this trend of tit-for-tat attacks.
I think everybody is very concerned, and certainly we in the UK are very sad to see what is happening and the cycle of violence that now seems to be taking place. And I think it's important that we break that cycle and we end this idea of reprisals. And I think that what everybody wants to see is urgent de-escalation.
Now, the sentiment is similar in the rest of Europe as well. US President Charles Michel discussed the situation with Israeli President. He too called for an immediate de-escalation to prevent further loss of lives. Member states like Germany have sought to strike a balance by affirming Israel's right to self-defense. In the Islamic world, support is coming in thick and fast for Palestine. The OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, condemned Israeli attacks. It also rejected the resettlement plans in the West Bank. Turkey has asked Muslim nations to take a firm stand. President Erdogan wants the global community to teach Israel a stern lesson. King Salman of Saudi Arabia too voiced his support for the Palestinian people. He was discussing the Israeli offensive with Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan. Saudi rival Iran has asked Palestine to build up power to halt, quote-unquote, Israeli brutality. Tehran believes Israel only understands the language of power. The new offensive in Gaza has successfully united the Islamic world against Israel. Now, some of the world agencies too have chimed in with reactions. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres confirmed his willingness to engage the West Asian Quartet. He was speaking to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court is looking into possible war crimes in East Jerusalem, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip.